You're exactly right. You can absolutely lose a call. You could lose a call in the first 10 seconds. I think a lot of loan officers sometimes really do forget that you are on a sales call. And a sale is making somebody do something they wouldn't have done otherwise. That's what I always say. That's a real sale. And when somebody's on the phone, their main objective is to really just obtain information. That's really why they're calling you. They just, what is this about? They ask you blanket questions like, what's your rate? And when you do a really good job of setting the tone of a conversation in those first 90 seconds, and you let them know that, listen, like, I'm a professional. I've been doing this a long time. I'm not here to waste your time whatsoever. I'm here to go over whatever refinance options you have. And you sound energetic and you really captivate your audience and you speak confidently, you're really going to have their ear right away. I think confidence in all aspects of life always grabs everyone's attention.
Welcome back to Good Better Broker as we bring in Eric Katz. He is the president of Independent Home Loans based in Scottsdale, Arizona. Eric, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. And a little about you. You started your company in September of 2023 after a long career in retail. And Eric, it's incredible what you're doing with Independent Home Loans. You're building a roster essentially of top sales performers and leading executives in the mortgage industry, so much experience within your group. And as for you, you have had an extensive career in sales. When you and I were talking before the interview, you said that you are a mortgage sales lifer. So looking back on your career, Eric, what do you think have been the biggest keys to your success?
It's a great question. When I was a loan officer, obviously I had a natural knack for sales. I didn't really realize I was born to do mortgages, but I found that out pretty quickly. And that was kind of my lifeline, my identity for many years, is just trying to be the number one loan officer wherever I competed. That was my main driver. And once I got into management, being fortunate enough to manage the level of talent that I've been fortunate enough to manage over the last 10 to 15 years, I never take credit for their talent, but kind of leading by example, knowing when you're in a room of very talented people that, you have a right to be there, and you have mutual respect. I think that really is important when you manage top producing salespeople, that they kind of respect you and they know that you know what you're doing. And I think that just over a long career of cultivating top performers at almost every level, I've kind of earned the respect for my peers in that way. But I don't know. I just picked up mortgages very quickly. Numbers, sales, people, those are kind of things that just come very naturally to me.
And you said that sales to you is a trained skill. So how do you describe the way that you train your loan originators?
Yeah, sales is an art form. Some people are just naturally born with it, but it is a skill that needs to be sharpened and practice with repetition. And we just really kind of train our salespeople to follow a very basic sales motto, especially at the beginning of every phone call. I've kind of always taught my guys just to start off every phone call with who you are, who we are, and why we're talking. That's kind of always been my sales motto. I can get a lot more deeper into that, but it's very important, especially when you do inbound sales phone calls in consumer direct, to really, really disarm your customer and differentiate yourself in those first 90 seconds. That's really, really what we kind of teach, is you can really lose a sale in those first 90 seconds of a phone call for sure.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that in a minute, but I do want to follow up with what you just said. Who you are, what we are about as an organization, and also why are we talking. Mm-hmm. Tell me about those three principles and why they are so crucial to sales.
Yeah, the very beginning, who we are. I think that's just very important to let a customer know who we are as an organization, kind of what we stand for, when we founded ourselves. You can really separate yourself from your competition. Only a certain amount of loan officers get to say that they work at Independent Home Loans. Not everyone gets to say that. So right off the bat, you want to be energetic and proud of that. And then, that's the who we are as the company part. And then, the who you are as a loan officer, let them know. Just let them know that you're a top nationally ranked loan officer. You've been doing this 10 to 15 years. You are a pro. You are, you have veteran certifications. You understand the guidelines backwards and forwards, and you are here at their disposal. You are here to let them know the ins and outs of their program and what they qualify for, and really be an advocate for them. And, why we're talking. It's a very direct to the point part of the sales call. Is a lot of customers just want to know, like, why are we on the phone? I received a piece of mail. What is this about? I put some information online and now I'm on the phone with you. Why are we talking? And it's just kind of get right to the point and let our customer know exactly why we're on the phone. And if you really hammer those points home in the first 90 seconds, you're going to have an engaged client.
Yeah, that exactly speaks to those first 90 seconds of a call. And you may not be able to win a sales call in those first 90 seconds, Eric, but you can absolutely lose a call. Take us through why that first minute and a half is so crucial.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You can absolutely lose a call. You could lose a call in the first 10 seconds. I think a lot of loan officers sometimes really do forget that you are on a sales call. And a sale is making somebody do something they wouldn't have done otherwise. That's what I always say. That's a real sale. And when somebody's on the phone, their main objective is to really just obtain information. That's really why they're calling you. They just, what is this about? They ask you blanket questions like, what's your rate? And when you do a really good job of setting the tone of a conversation in those first 90 seconds, and you let them know that, listen, like, I'm a professional. I've been doing this a long time. I'm not here to waste your time whatsoever. I'm here to go over whatever refinance options you have. And you sound energetic and you really captivate your audience and you speak confidently, you're really going to have their ear right away. I think confidence in all aspects of life always grabs everyone's attention. But if you're monotoned and you sound disengaged or you're multitasking, they're going to hear it, they're going to feel it, and they're going to turn it off right away and just say, I'm not interested, and get off the phone.
All right, so what are the most important aspects of really nailing that first 90 seconds? And you were alluding to some of these things a couple of minutes ago with having an intro that's repetitive, being enthusiastic, knowing your stuff. But to you, how do you set yourself up for success in those first 90 seconds?
I would always start off my phone calls the exact same. I mean, like, somebody's going to throw you a curveball and they're going to cut you off and you kind of have to adapt at that point. But, the who you are, who we are, why we're talking, like, that basic sales premise has always created success among myself and my peers. And your tone, it's very important. If you and me were talking and I was talking to you like this, like, you're going to get disengaged. But if I raise my voice and I start getting excited, you're going to get excited. And I can watch your eyes get bigger and I can tell people at home are getting excited. And it's just very important to remember those basic sales functions on the phone, that they can't see you, they can't touch you, they're not right in front of you, but they can definitely hear you. And little things like talking with a smile, like if I start smiling this entire time, my voice is just going to sound different. But if I grimace and I'm like it's just the entire phone call changes right away. So I really think it's important to sound enthusiastic, to sound educated, to sound like you're a professional, and really make sure that at the same time you have an engaged customer. Because in my business model, our phone rings all day long. And if you have a customer that genuinely is disinterested and does not want to give you the time of day, it is okay to kind of put that phone call to a decision right away and say, listen, like, this is why we're talking. If you just called in to yell at me or to tell me to stop giving you a piece of mail, that's okay. We'll put you on a do not call list, still move on. But it's okay to, ask your client to give you, their ear at the same time.
Your point about the smile, I think, is a great one, because I talk to people all the time about on-camera best practices, and one of the biggest ones is making sure you're smiling. Why? Because that is automatically going to trigger something in your mind to make you sound more enthusiastic and more welcoming. So I think that's a great point, even if you are on the phone and not on camera. Tell me this, in those first 90 seconds, how do you go about trying to build trust while also understanding the client's needs and also picking up on selling signals?
Yeah, I would say in those first 90 seconds specifically, the first thing that you said was to build trust. So we're not trying to necessarily pick up on massive buying signals right away, but when I said disarm and differentiate, I mean, we really want to let our potential customer know that, listen, like, we are for real. So quite often we will let them know when it's like who we are, like, my name is Eric Katz, my NMLS number is 630495. I verified that this is your cell phone number and email, correct? Okay. I just texted you a virtual business card. Here's a link to my website with my bio and like headshot and a little video about myself and the company. Please do me a favor while I'm asking you a few other basic questions about yourself. Look at it. I'm a real person. This is basically like my professional social security number, as a lot of loan officers like to say. It's really about building trust in those first 90 seconds, letting them know that this isn't a scam. This isn't like going to ruin their identity. This is a real call about potentially refinancing their home, buying a new home, or creating a new financial future for themselves. And I really think that trust in the first 90 seconds is the most important. And then usually you end it, with an okay, like, are you ready to proceed forward? And once your client's like, yes, okay, then we start getting into the sales part of the phone call.
Okay, that makes sense. So everything we've talked about thus far is what to do when you're on that call. I want to take a step back and ask you about the mindset that one of your LOs has to have before they even pick up the phone.
It's a great question. I always tell my loan officers that if you are not 100% ready to actually sell a loan to somebody, don't even pick up the phone. Because, quite often I will know that people are multitasking or they're on their phone, and I walk upstairs and I say hi to people and they're on a sales call, but I see them texting. And like, if you are not really engaged in that phone call, you kind of already shot yourself in the foot. I mean, this is a high rate environment. It is tough sledding out there for consumer direct salesmen. You are talking to people that have historically low interest rates, that have a lot of debt and equity, and you really need to put together a serious proposal on why this will help them and their family if they refinance. And you cannot just wing it. You cannot just ask them basic questions right now and get away with it. You need to be in a mindset to actually sell. And if you're not, you're going to burn through 10, 20 calls and you're not even going to pull someone's credit. It's just that important, in my opinion, to really have your mindset right. I think if I were to call you and ask you a serious question and you were multitasking or talking to one of your friends, you're going to be like, what? What did you say? And you could hear it on sales calls. People are umming and awing. I'm like, you are not engaged in this phone call.
And you actually have a great story about this, about your originators and how much value you place on not having any distractions while you're on a sales call. And I believe it relates to a Facebook post that you made while you were at your daughter's birthday party or a school party.
Yeah, Instagram. I'm at her holiday party at year end, and I'm posting a picture of me and her, and within seconds, I have loan officers liking this post, and this is the middle of the day, and I'm like, how on earth are you taking phone calls right now and originating deals if you are on Instagram and you can like a post I did so quickly? And I'll usually bust her chops for it a little bit. I'll be like, guys, it's 1:30, it's a Wednesday, we're on the queue. Put your phones down and start doing your job. But yeah, I mean, how engaged can you really be in a sales call? Our clients deserve 100% of our attention as well. So let's put your phones away, guys, and let's get to work.
Yeah, they were trying to be nice. Little did they know it was a gotcha moment, because you saw.
Yeah, they were trying to be supportive and like pictures of me and my kid, and I'm like, put your phone away.
All right, that's great stuff. Scripting. I want to talk about scripting because you believe that having a script is very important. Why?
I think it just creates that repetition factor to where, when you are really, really good at selling a product and you have learned your script, the entire beginning part of your conversation, it just flows better. It's a very big reason why I really, really try to have my guys do one loan product instead of having 8 loan products coming through their call queue at all points of the day. Then you're selling to different clients. And when you have a sales script and you've perfected it, you just sound actually more natural than you do robotic. Because at the beginning, when you're trying to learn a script, if you're just reading off of it, it doesn't sound natural. It really doesn't. But once you really learn the ins and outs of it, and then you kind of make it your own, your calls just sound the same. You get into a rhythm, you get more confident, you know what to say. You can prejudge objections coming on the sales call. That's why I think scripting is so important.
You were telling me that you have scripts that you've been using for 15 years that some of your people still use. To me, that's incredible because the mortgage business is ever changing.
Yeah.
There's always ebbs and flows, but that says that this script or these scripts that you've been using for all this time are still working. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, it just kind of goes back to what my sales philosophy has always been on the intro of these calls. And I hear who you are, who we are, why we're talking without saying those words. I hear it on almost every sales call on the floor, and I've heard it for almost a decade and a half. And I laugh to myself because I'm like, these guys read some of these scripts years ago. And again, the guys I manage, they're great and they're brilliant and they make them their own. But I hear the beginning parts of these sales calls as a premise that was written so long ago. And it's just important to always remember that, as I said, this is an art form. There is an art to sales. Like, yes, people are born with a natural sales ability, but I can give somebody that is not necessarily born to sell a script that we've written and perfected and say, listen, be yourself, but read these, like build your calls based on these sales foundations. And it's been proven to always be successful.
Something you mentioned earlier that I want to follow up with you on is disarm and differentiate. I want to make sure that our listeners understand what that means.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to kind of disarm the client on the phone, because in today's day and age, when they're on the phone with a stranger, they're leery. And you're asking people within 5 minutes or less their full name, their social security number, their date of birth. We're asking to let us pull their credit, asking about their assets in the bank. I mean, these are the most personal questions you can ask somebody. So if you don't do a good job of disarming them in the beginning to really let them know that you are a true sales professional and this is a real sales call, then they're probably not going to give you any information. I wouldn't. If I didn't trust the person on the other end of that phone, I'm not giving them anything, right? And then to differentiate yourself from everyone else, it's like, and that's kind of where the individual sales skills come in. It's like, what makes you different than any other loan officer they could talk to? And usually that comes down to service. It's like, this is the level of service you're going to expect when you work with me. Like, I could say I've been doing loans for almost 20 years. I've managed teams that have closed $15 billion in loans. I'm a savant at what I do. Like, trust me, you want to work with me, and here's why. A lot of loan officers just, take it for granted. They work at, large companies that have the biggest names in the world, and they rely on that. There's no individualism at that point.
So you're obviously very in tune with what's going on your sales floor, what's being said on the phone, how these conversations are going. And to that end, Eric, you are not afraid to make adjustments in the middle of the day. I believe you refer to them as halftime adjustments with your sales team. Why do you do this, and why is it important?
Yeah, it's something that myself and my sales director and my sales directors have been really working on, to where if you're a loan officer and you're taking 10, 15, 20 calls and you don't have an application and you don't really have anything cooking, let's not wait till tomorrow. Let's not let you burn calls for an entire week. We got to pause for a minute and say, hey, let's make a halftime adjustment, as I say, and let's pull a call or two, and let's really listen to where we're missing. Maybe you're not in the right headspace today. Maybe you're really disengaged on the calls. Maybe you had a string of really bad calls. Maybe they just were really tough, and all of that happens. But I think it's very important, especially in sales management, to be tracking your team's stats throughout the day to make those necessary, as I say, halftime adjustments, because leads are very expensive. And opportunities are few and far between right now in this market. And if you're not really watching what your team's doing all throughout the day, multiple times a day, it could be a week and one of your loan officers could be one application on 50 calls. And there was at least another 10 to 15 calls they could have booked. But now we're backtracking, and now we're trying to call customers 4 or 5 days later, and you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage.
Just listening to you talk about how hands-on you are with your team, I was thinking about how gratifying it must be for you to see this actually bear out the way that you and your LOs wanted to, and to see them actually take coaching and apply it and get loans and feel good about themselves. What is that feeling like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's another good question. It's great, and I'm lucky. The people that work at Independence Home Loans, I mean, they're hungry. Like, they came here, they want to work, they want to make money, they want to help people, they want to build a client base, they want to do right by their clients. They're open to it. Please tell me what I'm doing that I can improve on. Please pull one of my calls. All of them are starving for attention. I wish I could personally work with every LO every day. I can't, not even close. That's why I have a director of sales that does it. And then he works with our sales directors that do it. And then our assistant sales directors that do it. So, I mean, it's really a team effort. And my sales directors, they're really doing the dirty work all day, but it's great to really just see how receptive they are to feedback. And then when you really see some of these guys get wins and their pipeline's twice as big because they took the direction from our director of sales or their sales director, and they just couldn't be happier. Those are kind of like the little wins that make me happy, for sure.
Last thing I got for you, because I want to return to our main point here, and that is those first 90 seconds of a call. For people listening to this who are excited about the prospect of being able to take your advice and apply it, but also might be a little bit nervous about that clock, if you will, that shot clock, looking at a minute and a half and realizing it's make or break time in those first 90 seconds. What is your message to them?
I would say, take a beat before you get on your next call. Just breathe for a minute. But it's also okay to remind yourself that, this is the career that we chose. We are a professional mortgage salesman. And when we talk to a client, We need to be 100% engaged. They deserve our attention. And it's an art what we're doing. I mean, we're really trying to make somebody do something they wouldn't have done otherwise. And the client didn't just call to talk to a customer service rep. They wanted to talk to a true mortgage professional. And if you remind yourself that this is our job, this is what we're here to do, we're here to close loans, you're going to go into that phone call a lot more enthusiastic and pumped up and ready to go.
Very well said. We are so thrilled to have had the opportunity to talk with you. We're even more thrilled to have you in the broker channel. So continued success to you and your team. And thanks again for joining us. Eric Katz with Independence Home Loans. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching Good Better Broker and helping us support independent mortgage brokers everywhere. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified about new videos, as well as your preferred podcast platform for a new episode every other Tuesday.